welcome to EGO NetCast. I am Martin Lindeskog. Hi, Shaily.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. What are you thinking about?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just learned a lot about different topics that we can dive into today, and I'm thinking about the whole ego surfing situation. It's something I talk to my clients about. I'm thinking about social media and like the ups and downs and why we love it, why we hate it, all that kind of stuff. You got me like sparked just now as we're prepping for this show. So I've got my mind filled.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
I hear you have lots of energy, and I saw that on your website also. So please explain what's a social media Sherpa.
Yes. What is your social media Sherpa? So your social media Sherpa is a business I have to help empower business owners to do their own marketing. I give them clarity and accountability on how to do their own social media. The people that I help most are people who've done the work, who have business contacts, who are good networkers, who have an entire audience of people that love and adore them already offline. I help them take all of that attention and relationship and help bring them online. That a lot of times business owners don't realize that all they've cultivated offline is the same as social media, and it's all related. So one of my clients is like an Indian matchmaker. She has a great email list of contacts and past business people and people that can refer her, and she's never once sent an email out to them. And there's a pool of attention there that she's missing out on. So it's helping people build the tech systems into their business so they can have a complete marketing cycle from social media content to emails to showing yourself as an expert to answering the questions in anticipation of what your clients need. That's what it's all about. Yeah. Martin, can I tell your audience a little bit more about how I got into this?
Yeah, do that.
So, absolutely. So we're talking a little bit earlier about social media being the best thing and the worst thing potentially. And social media in my life has actually changed everything. As a kid, I didn't have a ton of friends. I didn't have a lot of relationships. And I end up finding my community of people that I love and adore on MySpace. So way back in the day, I found people that like the same weird hobbies that I did. So for me, social media changed my life. It's how I accessed cool people that I never would have met before. I mean, I'm talking to you today because of the power of the internet. So
yeah, Podmatch. So shout out to them. This new service for matchmaking in a way between guests and hosts.
Absolutely. Like that you got to see a profile of me and what I can offer you as a host, and we got to have a conversation, and all the nitty-gritty details that are usually really tricky when coordinating a podcast were kind of already done for us. So I'm glad we had a good match here and that I got to be here today. So Great. Social media win to that. I learned about them on LinkedIn. So
yeah. And I saw your comment there that you liked the cartoonish thing of myself that is created by fine artist and cartoonist, cartoonist John Cox that I put on my LinkedIn profile. So that's funny and nice comment. So thanks for that. And you have a bit of doing that in your way also with your name there, the pronunciation in parentheses. Could you tell about your first name and your last name a bit?
Yeah. So Shaily Hakimian. Shaily means my gift in Hebrew, and I was born on Mother's Day, so I was my mom's gift. So that's how that came to be. The funny part about this is my mom's, she says her best language is French. So the way she spelled my name in American English is actually people like to pronounce it Shaily. Even though in French it's pronounced Shaily, but she decided to make it a little bit more complicated for me. So I always like to put it in parentheses because I know so many people, even people that I've known for years, sometimes don't remember if it's Shaily or Shaily. So I want to make it easier for anybody that wants to connect with me. So I'm glad you saw that.
And how do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, Hakimian. I say Hakimian. I have relatives that say Hakimian. I'm more flexible on that. So
yeah. So you have also background from, is it then you said this Hebrew, so that's Israel and Jewish, and also from Morocco, is that right?
Yes, my mom is from Morocco, so that's where her French comes from.
Yeah, okay.
And my dad is from Iran.
Okay, for Persia, the Persia country. I say Persia. I have plenty of friends.
It works.
Yeah, I have plenty of friends in coming from Persia, from I call now Iran, and I'm following what's happening there very closely. So and John Cox that did this caricature of me. He worked together with one called Alan Forkum, and they had a site called Black and White World, or Cox and Forkum, but the book's called Black and White World, editorial cartoonist. And so they had a whole series about what's going on in Iran and the student movements and how you could support them and so on. So that was fascinating and interesting piece there.
Wow.
So, yeah. So now we'll go into when we do this ego search or ego surfing. So when I searched on the way you pronounce your name, similar to that I look up to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he pronounced that also on his book, Gary Vaynerchuk. So it's similar to Shaily. Then I get 1,000 results there, and first it's pictures, it's Twitter, it's videos, it's Twitter again, it's Spotify,
everywhere.
Your podcast, Breaker Audio, that's also a podcast podcatcher client there. Listen Notes, that's an interesting service for listening to podcasts, and Periscope that you have done, that's owned by Twitter. And there you had some Persian Jewish wedding. Could you tell about that?
My podcast. My Periscope episode.
Yeah.
So I miss Periscope. That was like my version of like podcasting way back, like 4 years ago. So one of the things I used to do debates on Periscope, but the other thing I really love to do on Periscope is show people what my culture is like, what being Jewish is like, what a holiday would be like, what a Persian Jewish wedding looks like. So I took my cousin and I showed people what it looked like. Our weddings tend to be more fun, more crazy, more people, more food than like a typical Jewish wedding. So I wanted people to see what that looked like. And that was a little clip of it. So I'm glad you got to check that out.
Yeah. Is it similar to like this, the movie that's called The Big Greek Wedding or something like that? Is it similar to?
Yeah, a little bit. That plus Jewish, Jewish plus more Persian food. That movie could have been my life too. We have a really big Greek population in Chicago. I think the movie took place in Chicago. So definitely we have a lot of Greek family friends, and I think they get me more than some of my peers. So
yeah, that's interesting. And we could talk about this Chicago directly on the spot here. The so-called Windy City. And I know that it's also about climate, but it's also about politicians. So how are things there now in Chicago?
Oh. It's interesting. So with Corona, like I have a big chunk of my friends who are very nervous to go do too many things. And then there's some bars that are open and still people are going out and drinking. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, this is Corona time. But I know I think the city has done a decent job of trying to like take care of us better than I think some other cities in the US. So I feel like we're in a good spot. The weather has been good. So I've been pretty lucky. Yeah.
And we will talk about that because I saw another search result here in another search engine, DuckDuckGo. It was something with chefs and food. So you have done that also. Chef feeds.
What is that? Ooh, I want to know what that is. Chef? What did I do?
Yeah, that was on DuckDuckGo. Chef's feed.
So this is what happens when I search myself on Google.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you, this is something, I think what I really love about what you're doing, and this is what I tell my clients all the time, is that whenever someone wants to hire someone else, they're going to look you up on the internet, and you have no idea what they're going to find. So to know that you did that, it's like, I'm sure you're not the only one to do that, but you verbalizing it, I think reminds me, and I should remind my clients that, like, this is what people do. Like, when they want to know what your deal is, they will find you online. They will look at your LinkedIn. They will look at everything. And if you have good information on there, that's going to only help. So, here, what's this? Oh, what is this? I'm looking at the chef's feed thing.
Yeah.
Oh, what was this? Ooh, I didn't even know I had this.
No, so you have to. I signed up for a newsletter there, so that's the good thing. I mean, Google is the dominant player out there, and I have mixed feelings about Google. I mean, in a way, it's a very clean way to search for things, but you should take that in account that you are the product also when you search on Google. So that's why I like to search on alternative search engines also, like DuckDuckGo. And then you could find some tidbits that you don't find on some other places. So I did that also and found this. And also it was some space called Cloud Peeps or something like that.
Oh my God, you got Cloud Peeps! That's so funny.
Yeah. freelancing service, right? Is that a good place to find gigs and so on?
I don't know. I joined them like maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The website looked really nice, was really pretty, but it looked like some of these platforms that now that I've gone less to freelancing, some of these platforms, like they know that there's plenty of people that will work and they'll work for a good rate. And I think the amount of effort you have to do to pitch someone on that platform isn't worth, I think, what the compensation was for me. And they were asking for a lot. And I'm not in the era of where my business is where I'm writing long proposals or I won't jump through hoops. I know what I bring to my clients. I know what I bring to the table. And, if my website doesn't answer that enough for you, like, and you don't have follow-up questions, and like, I don't want to, I'm not jumping through hoops. So it wasn't the right place for me.
That's good to know, because when I could, when I'm creating my last website, so to speak, it will be less is more. But that's a hard thing to explain. But then you don't want to make all the hoops. You want them to have this attraction marketing also, and to get them on the same level. But of course, it's your job to explain it. So you had one topic that we could discuss there about bartering, that you have done that in the past, and then you had some comments on that. What's your thoughts on bartering or trading in that way nowadays?
Oh, it's a juicy one. This is one that I keep thinking about because this is one of those great I call it hashtag debate, where you debate something because there's a lot of different perspectives here. So when I was a kid, for example, my dad was part of this international trading association, something, where he would trade jewelry and he would get some sort of other benefit. I remember getting, he would trade jewelry for more jewelry on my teeth. I remember my orthodontist was paid for on trade. He gave them some sort of jewelry and I got free braces. My teeth are not the straightest anymore.
No,
but,
mine is not straight either, and I haven't had this kind of thing. But I like the idea. But this thing, exactly what you're saying now, I'm all for it philosophically.
There's trickiness to it, for sure.
But in a modern society, so-called, you have so-called, how should I say it, that have opinion about this. In America and in Sweden and others, that they want to have a cut on that, even if you're bartering, because they feel like they have a right to a piece of the barter, right? But I'm all for it, because in the future we'll go more and more to bartering, and you have to understand the trader principle that we have an exchange. But for example, in Sweden, on every transaction, it's a VAT of 25%. So we have 25% VAT, like tax on everything. If you have raw material, like jewelry, and then you have gold, and then you make a jewelry, then it's 25%. And if then you sell that and somebody is repair it and something, then it's 25% on that, etc., etc. And that's going to the IRS and the state and the tax and so on.
Sure.
So, but if you do bartering, then of course it will be, you will cut in a different way. But that's how it worked in the past and could work in the future.
Sure.
So
there's
and that's
Yeah. Oh, I have so much to say on this too. I appreciate what you're saying here of saving costs and potential opportunities to try stuff out. There's a lot there.
Yeah, but then you have the other thing, like a freelancer or a solopreneur, that maybe some people want to barter with you, but you have to pay for their services. But they want to get it, a very special deal. So
it's happened to me before.
It could be a backside, yeah.
There's definitely a backside to this. So there's a lot of pieces here. One of the pieces is this is kind of where it really this is kind of where it got me interesting, is that because I'd seen my dad do it, it was something that I was open to. And as someone who was starting a business, I didn't know, I was terrified to risk my money on something that maybe didn't work. So I said, you know what? Let me put a page up on my website and just leave it there. And if somebody has something that I want, that they want back, they will tell me, and then we will figure it out together. And because that was how I could consider potentially affording stuff, because I knew I had things that other people wanted, and we could maybe find a way, and with consent and everything. So if we did do something, I always like to make a little contract and all that kind of stuff, because I want to protect all assets, or all people.
Yep.
So a story that happened was a few years ago. I was at a business networking group, and I'd gotten to know everybody there pretty well. One of the members there was a coach, and she had a sister that was a writer. The sister was trying to build her business through social media. And so we came up with an agreement that she was going to edit some of my website copy, and that I was going to teach her some social media. Because for me, I needed help with my writing, and it wasn't something that I'm good at, but I know she could benefit from what I had. And I thought, why not? So I think she was hesitant. Her and the sister were hesitant about me. And I was like, I want to put this with trust. I wrote a contract up. I did like an hour of the review of her website to give her feedback. And I was expecting her to do some back. And after I sent her everything, she never did her share of what we wrote down and what we negotiated. And to me, it made me really judge her sister who introduced me to her, because it makes her look bad that she didn't go on her end of the deal. And on top of that, like we see this happening all the time too, where like somebody does the thing really well and they put their heart in something, the other person, you know, doesn't really try very hard for their end of the deal. It's a little different. So that's, I think we were even messaging about this, like the idea of like, when you pay for something, you value it a lot more. There's that whole dynamic, because if you don't pay for the thing, you don't value the thing. And chances are when you're not getting actual money, like the amount of service that I would put into a barter potentially could be lower. And I like to think I try, but you know, there's ways that I can like protect myself here. But those are all things that are really juicy. So there are ways that I like to do it that have been comfortable for me, but I don't want to get taken advantage of like I had in the past. So that's where it's risky. I mean, I have more on this too. Can I share with your audience like how I barter nowadays?
Please do. Yeah.
So one thing that I've done that's low risk for me and low risk for the other person, that's very quick and efficient, is I do these, like, I start off with like a 30-minute consultation trade. So what I'll do is, let's say like I didn't know a lot about accounting, and I didn't know who to hire, and I didn't know what I needed to answer. And I met an accountant guy that wanted to improve his LinkedIn. And, you know, neither of us really wanted to spend any money. And I was like, well, perfect. We have something that each of us wants. We would do like a 20 to 30 minute trade-off. So he would teach, I would ask him questions for 20 minutes on accounting, and he would give me answers. And I would work 20 minutes with him on how to improve his LinkedIn profile. And, you know, at the end of the day, we both used equal amounts of time. We didn't have to do anything outside of the phone calls. And we both got a lot of insights that we didn't have before. And now I feel way better about my own accounting, because I have context now, and I knew exactly what I needed to hire for when I did finally get an accountant, bookkeeper, tax person. So that's how I do it now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I will ask when as a devil's advocate then.
Please,
I like the idea, and I don't like accounting, and I'm ready to pay for it or use a service.
Sure.
So now you could use service that somebody take care of it and also send the invoice, but they take a cut of it.
Yeah,
but otherwise you need an accountant. But this guy who you help with LinkedIn profile, that could turn into clients or leads to him. How is that valued compared to, of course, in your way, if you don't do the accounting in the right way, then you could pay, you know, you have to pay for your so-called mistakes.
Exactly.
But you really can't earn anything on your account. In a way you can, because if you do it right, then you save money, and then you could focus on other things. But do you see what I'm saying? Because I'm talking with potential clients about podcasting and what that could do for their business.
Yeah.
Of course, I am a cost, but I have also a proposal that could lead to business for them if I do it, like social media.
Sure.
Again, I said it's no rocket science, but I have done it for a long time, and you have done it for a long time.
Yeah.
So we know tips and tricks, and we could give them some advice, and especially my focus, on inspiration to inspire them to do. But that's a value that also, that you start doing something, because then you could look back. It was good that I started blogging or podcasting or starting a newsletter, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of value in what you can teach to someone else, and it's good to know that you package it and that you know what it's worth, and you know why they should value you. And I think that's really important, because you can, ultimately at the end of the day, if somebody wants to do a trade or something like that, both parties have the chance to say no or to negotiate terms. It doesn't have to be like working 100 hours for someone and then not getting anything back. There's ways to do it safely. There's ways to do it that are feasible, that are safe, and beyond. But yeah, that's the big one. I think we were talking a little bit about this. I had somebody that I look up to in the Chicago business scene. I was talking to her about bartering. She said, I don't do it anymore because you never get the same quality of work. If they're going to start doing work for people, they're always going to prioritize their paying customers over you. So you're never going to get the same amount of work. So instead of trading, just pay cash for whatever it is. Even if it ends up being the same amount of money, it just changes the dynamic immediately. And from then on, I rethought about my bartering page on my website and thought, do I want to do this? Is this what I need? But I think at the end of the day, it's making sure that the trades are safe, that they're time for time potentially, and more consultative based. And for me, it's been a great impact this year. Actually, about a year ago, I met this woman. who saw my bartering page. She looked at my website. She did an ego surf of me before she came to my in-person workshop and saw that I needed help organizing my space. That is something I am just not good at. And so for the last, for 6 months, I would say from last fall to March this year, she was messaging me about hey, what can we do together? She needed some encouragement and motivation on how to network. And she knew I knew a lot about that. So I would respond to her messages on LinkedIn about what she wanted to know about coaching and, motivating herself in business and her career. And then she came to my apartment for 2 hours one day and helped me get organized. I still have one set of shelves that have stayed organized since, since February because of her. And it's been a huge help. And I almost want to call her back and be I need some more. So she was really great. Maybe I'd even hire her because this is what she might want to do as a business. So it worked out really nice, I think, for both of us. And we didn't, we just put in the time and then we left. So anyway, it was really cool.
And I have talked about this and also done a podcast episode about that when it's coming to somebody pick your brain.
Yes.
That they want to have a short meeting or over lunch or coffee or tea and only have some questions. Do you have 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
And I've been there, done that, and learned from that, and I ventilated about it also to a great community for independent entrepreneurs and solo entrepreneurs, and also working online called Fizzle. And they talked about that on their podcast show, and I learned from that because how to be better to ask questions about the cooperation and doing the business. So I learned from that, but it's pretty funny. So I will include that in the show notes also, and this book about picking your brain, you can't afford it. Yes. So have you been there also?
Yes. Yeah? I'm going to shout out this person I look up to, Saya Hillman of macandcheeseproductions.com. She has a whole, I think she mentions the book or whatever you just mentioned, but she writes about it. I think she tags it in there. And she made this point super duper clear, is that she is somebody that a lot of people look up to. A lot of people want her knowledge. She's basically built a career around doing a variety of things that she loves and getting paid for it, literally designing the life that she wants and affording to do it. And I mean, I fell in love with her message when I saw her do a TEDx talk 7 years ago. But she says, everybody says, oh, can we meet up? Can we hang out? Can we talk? And she really highlights the fact that she has something that everybody wants. And if she said yes to every person who had coffee, she'd be meeting for coffee every day and people just asking her for ideas and tips and stuff. And that's not really fair. It's why is her well have to run empty because she has to help people? And as women especially, we feel not everybody, but a lot of women feel obligated that they have to help everybody. And she said she had a lot of guilt over saying no to people who wanted to meet up with her because of it. But she's right. She has something that people want to know about. And if they want, they can pay her consulting rate on her website and she'll happily talk to you. But that's not her. She doesn't owe anybody that and that knowledge. And at the same time, I'm going to echo this too, is that I've had people want to do this to me, and I've had this happen to me before, but what I was going to say, people say, oh yeah, I want to learn more about your business, how you got into your career and all this stuff. But if I'm going to take my time out of my day to teach you this stuff, I'd like to think that you're going to value that. And if I say something that's relevant to your career, that you might try to at least do something about it, or at least acknowledge that what I've given you is supposed to be helpful to you. I think that is something that I think happens all the time, which is why I'm so hesitant to get on the phone with anybody, is that I want to make sure that our times are being valued. So I don't think people realize that, even the other day, I have a logo that I'm working on, and I've been putting off putting a logo on for a while, but I have a mentor who happens to be a branding specialist. I was terrified to ask her for help because this is what she does for a living. She gets paid to do this stuff. Yeah. I don't want to take advantage of her time. And, if I don't like something that she says, I'm going to feel really guilty if I don't listen to it because I know that this is super valuable, what she's spending the time on. So I don't think most people realize how delicate that is. Most people will just ask you for things without the relationship building. And I think for me, this has been a huge anxiety point for me because I don't want to ask people for too much. And I also think that's probably why women don't do as well sometimes, depending on who you are. In certain businesses, women don't ask for help. I don't ask for help. When I say women, I'm talking about me. I don't even do that because I'm scared of taking someone's time and knowledge and insights. But I know plenty of people don't care and they'll ask people for things and maybe they'll move forward in life. I want people to know I value them and their efforts and their time. So that's my thoughts on that. There's so much there.
That's good. So I will give you some book tip there that you could read more about that also. So and did you talk about this? That was also a search 2112 Chicago Roundtable. That was a search result also.
Amazing group, changed my life. The mentor I was just talking about, I met her through that group. She helps run it, and she's an amazing human being. Strawbird Design Studios, she is phenomenal. So I was just talking about her. It's funny you say that. But I've networked with that group for like more than 3 years now, 4 years. I've hired people from that group. People have hired me from that group. We meet every month, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So many kick-butt people in there.
Is it just in Chicago, or is it other places in the United States of America?
One chapter, and it used to meet at 2112 every month. Now it's virtual. So if you're out of Chicago, you can come visit now. So it's really, it's a great group. We have great speakers. It's a great community. I'll tell you this is kind of cool. There's a lot of business networking groups out there. And one of them, a group of these women that started this group were a part of, and it's a big women's association that's national. They have chapters everywhere. And there was some drama in the local chapter, and this group of women were like, why are we paying membership dues for this thing? Why don't we just start our own group? And that's how the roundtable formed. There was a bunch of women who were really fringy who left this other networking group to create their own that did the things that they wanted for their careers. So it's not just women, but we have a lot of women, really kick-butt women, and it's a lovely community. For sure. So anyone's invited.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
So when I search on your name without the pronunciation in parentheses, I got 5,860 results.
Ooh.
And there it was your website, Instagram, Facebook, and then you recently was a guest on a podcast here called Restarting America.
Yes.
Can you tell a bit about that?
Yeah, so Restarting America is a podcast on what's going to happen now with people's businesses as everything has changed because of COVID. It's from this company called it's a company that like does SEO marketing, 97 Switch, and they do SEO and all that stuff. So my friend Josh, who's a mentor, who's a friend, he's changed my life. Dion was like, "Hey, Shaily, let's have you on this podcast," and so I did, and it's and I'm really glad to partner up with a good friend that I know here, and we've always like learned from each other marketing wise. He knows a lot about SEO, I know a lot about LinkedIn, and we've grown a lot from each other over the years. So to do a podcast with him was pretty cool. That's a little bit about it. It was fun.
So that's great.
Yeah.
And I will update my own LinkedIn profile when I publish my last site.
Yeah.
But I like LinkedIn, I like Twitter, I like Facebook.
Same.
But I have my views also that have grown and built over time. That to create your own hub, and then you could have different satellites. But you create your own website, you have a newsletter, and then you have your own podcast, or you're a guest on a podcast. Because I see how LinkedIn is copying Facebook and vice versa. And you get these so-called stress elements that you could celebrate somebody's birthday. You get reminders of all kind of things. You get tagged by contacts, and it's lots going on. And now, I mean, LinkedIn have started with live streaming also.
Oh, I'm waiting for it. I love it. I can't wait.
And I like it in a way. And I want to test for it, but I know that it's some kind of invitation system.
Yeah.
But what I see is also it's not always easy to search or find. Or I mean, if you have a thread on LinkedIn a year ago, how do you find that later on compared to a blog post or podcast episode or an issue of a newsletter?
It's hard.
So yeah.
To it.
So that's yeah. So I wonder about that, and also they have been pretty good, I think, LinkedIn on buying different properties like SlideShare, and now recently, because it's a great mining for them, a data bank of material and presentations and titles, job titles and so on, and contact information. But they recently sold that to another company I saw.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. But I haven't seen any more about it, but I will do some investigations and learn more about it. But I mean, they have been very profitable, LinkedIn, I think.
They're leveraging. They're trying to sell these memberships. Like if you're a recruiter, if you're in sales, you're going to pay their $100 a month membership or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's what I have a bit, and I'm very open with that. And I call myself, I'm a former purchaser, so I'm a bit allergic to all the sales and pushy out
really
there.
Annoying.
Because they want to connect with you, and the next second they want to sell something to you.
Not how this works.
No, I know, but that's how they are trained in a way.
It's unfortunate. But,
to joke now
like,
again.
That's what they taught old school sales guys. Like back in the day, it was like the more people you reach out to, if you reach out to 100, maybe you'll get 2 people out of it that might buy your thing. And so they've kept that. People have kept that old school mentality on LinkedIn. I don't love it. I think that's really annoying when people do that, but I get why people do it. I'm not. That's not my business philosophy. I want to get to know people. I want to build relationships, and the way that I post content on LinkedIn is literally reminding every single person that I know I'm connected with that I'm around and that I'm giving away insights. My post this week was about podcasting and how to promote podcasts on LinkedIn, and a lot of people found value in it. And I said, hey, that's some good stuff. So, but it keeps people in mind. It reminds people that, hey, Shaily's around. We should reach out to her. We should refer her people. And I got like 3 messages this week of like, maybe you want to work with Shaily. And I'm like, I wonder why that happened. I wonder why you remembered me. I wonder if I was LinkedIn.
That's good. Yeah, and one of the LinkedIn, I think he is one of the founders. He has a great podcast that I listened to an episode recently. So, yeah. So, and they talk. Yeah, I think it was. We talked about this other thing that you wanted to have help with, getting your inbox to zero, and hello.com. And I think maybe he didn't interview him. It was somebody else that he interviewed about that, how to build a base and how to then to make money off it. But first to do the foundation. And I got the invite, but I would probably not continue with it because it had some, it's worth probably, but in a way it's not your own domain and it costs a bit and it's a bit vanity thing. But I like the founders of the company and what they've done really before. Cool.
Quite the founder.
Yeah, and it is also a stress factor with your inbox. So it's a good take on it. And we will see. Because they paid pretty much. He wrote a Medium article on Medium about how much, not exactly how much they paid for it, but they paid for hey.com a hefty amount for that domain.
I'm sure. So, it's a cool thing. I'm with you. Jason Fried, I think, has tried to really solve for things, and he has a great team. And they, it's funny. I think his whole team is like 50 people for his other company. Like, they've kept it lean when other companies would try to go big. But I do love the idea of making things easier. I think that was a huge mistake to not let people use their own domains, and I think they may have wasted a massive opportunity with so much attention being on this product for the last 2 years. I think that was a huge mistake because I think it would have been a little easier for me to like stick around. Like I really loved the first 2 weeks where I did my trial, and I think it was really nice to block something. But part of me is also like, I would have paid for it because I was thinking about hiring someone to organize my inbox, and she's like, it's going to take 20 hours a week for a few weeks. I'm like, that's not what I need. But I'm part of me is wishing that maybe a Google will come in and take those ideas out there. But then as a marketer,
they probably. But then you will be one. Well, I have Gmail and I like it in a way, but I know that I'm a part of their product because it's a bit almost scary. You read an email and then you wandering around on internet and suddenly an ad pops up. And it's also on different things. You read something on Gmail and suddenly on your Instagram account you see an ad.
But I find good things
and they are connected. Yeah. So how do they do that?
Right?
Yeah. And then that's it's to reading the fine print.
Yeah. I want to follow up with you on this because this email thing is big. You've been in the marketing world. I've been in the marketing world. This is where the other part comes in, is that if I want to get the joy of Hey, and one of the best things about Hey is that you can block people from getting into your main inbox. So instead of unsubscribing, they're like basically hiding all these emails from people that I signed up for a year ago. But if I'm, let's say, a marketer and I've got a system like Hey in place, are people going to block my emails, and is that going to lose a lot of eyeballs? I think emails have gone pretty much unfiltered for decades. So if somebody were to change it up, I think Hey is hopefully going to help shape the future of email and really say like, hey, we don't want to be spam with stuff. I can't figure out how to manage my email, and I still have yet to see a tool that can pull out all the most relevant emails and keep away all the spammy ones. I don't know. I mean, Unroll.me exists, but they're also selling your data. They're also taking your data, apparently. So I'm with you on this with everything. Yeah.
And in a way, Gmail is doing that for you also. I got recently, do you want to still subscribe to this newsletter? Because we have seen that you haven't opened anything from them for a month.
I love that.
And that's good in a way, but it's also a bit, So they learn your, habits and so on. But they also, as I said, store them compared to Hey. But I thought the price point was a bit steep for me, and also with this, you said domain names and so on. But I like the idea. But I could also include that in show notes if I will find that in my email.
It's cool.
An article about how you could set up your, the stars and some kind of categories in order to make it easier, similar to like have you heard about Eisenhower matrix?
What is that?
Like the general there, Eisenhower. So he had like something that is important and urgent. Yeah. So then it's with colors, and then you could put that everything that you get in your inbox or task or whatnot. Of course, then it could be hard when it's a so-called a gray zone, or you don't really know where to put it. And then it's also to take time to organize it, and that's the thing. So, but
I'm not the only one with this problem. But so someone has to figure it out.
No. Yeah. And of course, if you haven't done that already, you could of course read David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. That's a good start. And I have a podcast together with a co-host called Johan Gustafsson, and we talk about that in Swedish, called produktivitet. So it's productivity plus tea. So we are drinking a cup of tea, and then we talk about this kind of stuff. But it's interesting how we are gone to using lots of apps and technologies and so on, but more and more getting more analog, that we want to write things down and do your own, check marks or sign offs on something with pen and paper, because that's a certain feeling with doing that also, like thinking on paper.
I'm sure you've heard the concept of a CRM, like a client relationship manager, customer relationship manager, right?
Yeah.
She's in her 60s, and she's building a business, and she's amazing. Like, she's a beast. So if she's listening to this, you're an amazing human being. But she has kept all her notes on paper, and it's blown my mind. But when I look at how meticulous she is, it absolutely blows my mind that you don't necessarily need all of these tools. But that's so much why I think it's overwhelming for business owners, is because if you have to figure out like which tool you need to use, how to use it, like how to put in your system, like that's really complicated. Then you're like, who do I hire to help me figure this out? Like that's the part that gets me stuck, is because like Hey was pretty simple, but like there's so many tools out there to help you organize your inbox, but it's like I don't know how to figure that out. And I'm sure like my friends have figured it out. Filtering apparently works, but apparently filtering takes a lot of hours. Is it worth it? Do I need to manually like filter stuff out? Like somebody has to like solve it, and I'm glad that they tried, because I hope it changes the world on emails. So we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, my solution is, but I don't know if somebody will pay for that advice, is that you have to pay in order to send emails, because then you will get away with lots of spam.
That's interesting.
But I mean, that's because we're talking about bartering and so on and taking something for granted. I mean, why if compared to when you send a physical envelope or a letter, you pay a postage. Why don't you do that with email? And then somebody will say, oh, I can't afford it. But then you have to find something, a way to do that. Yeah. And of course, nowadays you could do it in micro, nano, whatever percentage of cents or dollars, or even better, you could connect it to silver or gold or some blockchain technology.
So yeah.
I mean, yes. So I wonder why we haven't seen that yet. But of course, somebody has come up with the idea, and then see if it's feasible and possible. And if somebody wants to pay for it, but I would do that. And I mean, in a way, Hey is doing that in a way. But I thought it was, as I said, again, I like the idea and the service, but it's a bit steep. And then I think, as you said, you could have resistance with others when suddenly you get something from Martin at hi.whatever.com. And they wonder, what kind of email address is that? Is that your own domain, or is it
I couldn't get over? They wanted people to switch. I couldn't get over that. But I appreciate their price. There are some services I paid more money for that did a lot less for me. Like I was fully prepared to pay for it. As a business owner, like I have a lot of software that I use to run my business, and some of them are like I pay one of them is like $50 a month, and I'm like, dude, it's scary, it's $50 a month, but it's like it helps me out so much that it was totally okay for me to spend. And like for $99, it's way cheaper than hiring that virtual assistant in the Philippines that could have done it for me. It would have taken a lot more hours to figure this out. And I'm like, if I can pay $100 and not have this problem anymore, that's $100, but I can go work, for however long with my client, I can do a session with a client, have that paid for. So I'm like, it's saving me that time and headache sifting through my inbox, like, it might be worth $100 for me. But I think if it's just a casual inbox, not related to a business, I don't know if it's worth it. But I would have paid for it, I think, if it did have that custom domain. The other thing I want to mention that this is really special about email is that email, unlike any other social media platform, there are no algorithms. If you have someone's email, you can send them something to their inbox. Unless there's a spam blocker, they will get the thing. And I think that's something that, as a social media manager, like, it didn't hit me as hard till this year of, like, that's why you have to drive traffic to an email list. LinkedIn might lose its audience. There's competitors popping up. Who knows? Instagram might go away. Snapchat's already dying. If you build a whole audience on Snapchat, like, unless you have their emails, it's very hard to stay in touch with them. Unless you get them to follow you on other platforms, it gets very tough. So getting someone email becomes so valuable. And you're right. If you paid a little bit, people would value that thing. But that's why it's so valuable. That's why people will give so much away just to get your email. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and that's why, to joke, maybe I sound old then now, but the kids, so to speak, they value their email address very much. Some don't think they have email, but almost everyone have an email. Even if you have to sign up for an application, you often have to use an email.
Yeah.
So you have that, but then you could have several email addresses, and then you have to figure out which one, etc., etc. But as you said, email is the gold mine in a way. And that's why I'm thinking about about newslettering and so on. But that's also a challenge, because I subscribe to hundreds of newsletters, and do I read everyone? No. And that's why I got this notification from Google or Gmail if I should unsubscribe. But I'm still for that idea, because you could control your own newsletter, and then you could get new emails. But then you have to.
It's a lot of work.
Behave in a good way.
Behave in a good way. Why don't we hack it out? Like, let's talk about what your email could look like. Let's talk about, like, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot more lately, is that I saw Emily McGuire. She's an email marketer, really cool lady. I featured her a little bit on my website. She's an email marketer, and she was talking about how the old days of, like, people would send out newsletters in the mail, or like a newsletter would be almost like a newspaper, and people put tons and tons of content in there, which, made sense in logic when you're going from like paper to like digital, but that's not what's going to work. The whole idea of the purpose of an email is to remind people that you're there. The same way that I said my LinkedIn reminds people I'm there, your email reminds people that you're there. And when you think about how many long emails you get with like tons of articles and links, that's actually not serving a business. If you're trying to like remind people that you have something, one short email or that one long email broken up into 4 emails over a month is actually way more valuable. Because if you give people one solid tip or insight or something related to your business, it's worth so much more. It's light, it's easy, and it's not as overwhelming as probably the emails you're talking about. So that's why I actually just launched my email marketing after like over a year of prepping. I finally launched it in June. And I've had a bunch of emails go out, and they're all short and sweet, and they all have a very clear call to action that guides people to book a consult with me so they can figure out if they want to hire me for a one-on-one social media session. And it's always a social media tip that's related to what I think my audience wants. So it's been really cool so far, and that's where I spend the $50 a month on this software that does it, Active Campaign. I love them, but it's been really useful. I can see who clicks and who's interested in all this kind of stuff. But I know that over time that reminding people I'm around will be huge for me. So I'm doing one every other week because that's what I can manage right now. And the idea is that I'm going to be able to reuse some of those emails too. You don't have to just send the same email. You don't have to, make a new email every time. You can repeat something, and it's totally okay. There's always an opportunity to reinvent, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's how I'm going to manage every other week emails. And that's how you can too.
That's a good idea. And I have done a long way until I came to that idea, because I want to have a tool again that I could use in a way, and that's Review. So I pay $5 per month using that, and you could drag and drop, and you could put like building blocks using Instagram photos, Twitter, embed Twitter's things and other things. So it's more like a personal, curated editorial newsletter. It's of course about ego and about myself and what I've done, but it's also a tip or so on. But it's not a long newsletter with lots of links and so on. But it's in a personal style, and I like Review, the guys that are working with that, because that's their business also. They have been thinking about this curated, personal editorial newsletter. So it's more. I mean, I'm all for these drip campaigns and others, but it's lots of, how to say, same. And if I feel that people want to have me in their so-called funnel, I get a bit worried. It's all okay, but you could do it in a personal way also. For example, I could mention that one that's very good at that is Chris Brogan. He has a newsletter, but it's very personal also. And if you reply to that, he will respond. So I think that's a good thing, and that's what I want to talk with potential clients also, because lots of professionals they don't have newsletters. They know about newsletters and they subscribe to them, but they don't have anything else themselves because they don't know how to do it or what to put into it, and so on.
And we can teach them how to do it.
So that's good. So anything else on your mind here? We talk about other things probably for another time, but tenure, about academia.
Look, the whole idea with this whole tenure thing is that I want to just give topics that people can debate that are professional, and that's what that and our topic earlier about bartering are great topics that when I finally get LinkedIn Live, whenever it happens, I want to host a show where I get people to debate those topics because they're juicy and there's lots of different opinions on it. And I love finding the middle ground and learning from different opinions. So that's why I shared them with you, is because I'm itching to do them on another platform. So I was like, if I can give you some topics, we will. But
that's good.
Like you said, I love that you shared that email tool. People don't know how to do this stuff. They don't know what to share about themselves. And I tell people there's so much, they don't know what people want to know about. It's what your story is, what you care about. I know a lot more now about what you care about. It's what you can help them with. Is it an answer to a question that your leads are constantly asking you? Is it some sort of insight that they don't know about? That's what I think about, is that when it comes from you, the person, and not somewhere else, like, you can drive people to keep getting to know you better. If you're sending them to other websites, it's a nice way to start, but ultimately you want to guide them to being interested in what you have to offer. And that's the simplicity of an email thing. And that engagement and the one-on-one connection makes a huge difference. There's a reason I have 60% open rates. It's because people like me and they trust me, and I haven't taken advantage of their email.
That's good.
So, so that's a little bit of that.
That's great. And that's what I like about podcasting and blogging also, being a blogger for a long time. So I saw that you had a Medium account, and I paid that now for the premium, because I like that idea also, but I haven't I still have lots of people following me there, but I have liked lots of content there and comment, but I haven't started yet because I have to have a plan there. And my first Medium post will be about my Twitter name, Lyceum, and now my Twitter name is Lyceum Peripatos, and that's the Greek school, Athens, Aristotle School in Greece. So I handed over my Twitter handle Lyceum to a podcast platform called Lyceum, Zachary Davis, and he reached out to me on, I think it was LinkedIn, and wondered about my Twitter handle, and we had an interesting conversation, and then it came to that I handed it over to them, and when we had an agreement and a deal, and so that's pretty fascinating. And so I will write about that, my first post there. But have you, because I've seen that you have a Medium account, but you haven't updated it for some time. What have been your experience with that, with blogging there on Medium?
So the part of what I teach when it comes to teaching my clients of how to do social media is that they need to experiment with different platforms. So anytime I saw a platform come out that was different, I was trying to play with it, because like you said, like, you don't have a set plan for it. Like, to do really well on a platform, you have to have some sort of plan. You have to have content ideas. You have to be consistent. And for me right now, it's just LinkedIn. I post once a month on LinkedIn, but I've been consistent the last year and a half. And that's how people grow. You have to keep yourself in their head, because if you're missing for a while, they forget about you. So you have to stay fresh. So Medium wasn't something I strategized about, but it was a place to house different blogs that I wanted to share, because I really wasn't crazy about my own blog at that point, and I just wanted to put some stuff out. But it was a nice experiment, and I do have 203 followers. I'll take it. That's another social media hack. When you get to a platform early before all your friends, they will get notified that there's someone that they know that's on the platform and they'll probably follow you. So that was good for me to just have it. And then I started uploading different things that I thought were interesting, like how I got on a Netflix show. Somebody wanted to take advantage of me for a job. And they were kind of sleazy about it. My favorite elephant story, why I chose not to lose weight. So anyway, the not knowing what to call what I did for a living, I didn't know what I wanted to call myself for the longest time. I didn't get Your Social Media Sherpa as a name till just over a year ago. But I had been doing this business for more than 2 years, and I've been in social media from 7 years, officially, and since I was 14 years old, unofficially. There's a lot of articles in there of I just wanted to put this out there and I just didn't know where, and it was my experiment. Did I advertise a lot of these things? No, but they were there as something, as a kind of a house for what I was putting out. So I can think about the fact that if I want to do medium or I don't want to do medium. So that's me.
Yeah. And it's great, and probably also that to learn about new things and learn reading good content. It could be both easier and easier when you search and find, but it could be also harder and harder. So that's why it's interesting to these things pops up. Another social media platform, or maybe I should say a search engine that I learned from a podcast conference. It was one expert there, and I know I don't remember her name, but I could figure it out because I think I tweeted to her and got the deck is Pinterest. And I have an account there, but I'm not using it actively now. But after her presentation, I got I maybe have to take another look because it is a search engine. After Google, after YouTube and Amazon, it's up there. And if you have a special interest, like I have with tea, for example, I like spicy food. So I have a new podcast called Hot and Spicy Review, but I will talk about hot sauces and spicy food. If you start to populate this and having content, and then you could be found in that way. But then, of course, you have to have time with it and so on. So that's why I have to figure something out and maybe getting that you have some cooperation or do something, find like-minded individuals that you could do something together. But what's your take on Pinterest?
I say this to my clients all the time. There's so many shiny objects when it comes to marketing and social media that even now, I'm trying to dig into SEO. I'm sort of seen as a LinkedIn expert, but I really love to teach a mindset about how to do this stuff. So I'm glad that you've experimented with it. I joined Pinterest early, and again, I also have a lot of followers on there. I have 194 following right now on Pinterest, so that's cool. But the search engine thing, I think that's super interesting. But again, it's is this the place you want to be? Is this the audience you want to serve? I don't know. But I have heard from other TikTokers that if you share a TikTok on Pinterest, you get boosted up in their algorithm and people see your stuff, which I think is super cool. Do I think it's a content platform for everybody? I don't know. I think there's a huge mom population on there. I know if you go on Tailwind, there's Tailwind Tribes that helps you kind of boost your content amongst other people who are in your space to get more eyeballs. I don't know exactly how that works, but I don't think it's the battle that I'm going to take today. But if there's a passive way I can do it, it can't hurt, but it's not where I'm going to strategize. But it's something worth playing with and see if it's something that you want to put your time and energy into.
And that's for the record and joke, because that's one tool that I will not. I know about it. I've looked at it, but I will not use it. And that's TikTok.
Oh, let's go.
For
let's
several
go. Ready
reasons.
For this battle. Let's go. What do you think about TikTok?
It is the whole story about how they created it. I'm for a free China, Taiwan. And I'm for trade, but it's some fishy business there. So they did it very quickly, and they collected data. Yeah, it have been lots of stories about that, and that's why they wanted to shut it down. I think the market should decide that, not politicians. But it is some signs there. But what I see, what now, for example, Instagram, owned by Facebook, is now testing out is these reels, videos. And I started to watch this, and I got, this is funny in a way, but then I got the same feeling as I did when I started with Instagram, that I had to, so-called, it's my free will, I do what I want to do, but I so-called had to scroll through all my 300s, now I'm more than that, but I think, contacts on Instagram, the first thing in the morning and the last thing before bed. Now I don't do that anymore. But when I saw these reels, I did this refreshing and said, okay, another music video that I don't understand because it's not my type of music. And then I got some, it's lots of political things now going on. But then I got some fun things like cats that I like and so on. But then after 15 minutes, I wonder what I have done. Okay, I've done some scrolling here. It's interesting. I understand why Instagram is copying TikTok. It's all good, but yeah. So that's my take on it.
I appreciate that. It's cool to hear some perspectives on this. The data stuff, I don't know. I think there's some political situation. I don't know what you're getting in Sweden, but like I think there's some political. They're trying to make TikTok cheap so an American company can buy it, and this whole hula la. But like it does. They want to make it. They want to make it cheaper. And if Trump puts on some bad news about it, like it's probably only going to help lower that number. I don't know if he's got any personal investments in making money off of this TikTok deal, but definitely very controversial, very fascinating. But for me, like I love TikTok. The community they have is very different. I think Facebook is smart, and they're trying to like steal ideas from everywhere else because they have the thing that no one else has, which is basically every single person on the internet is on there. And so they literally stole everything from TikTok, including the famous songs. A lot of the famous reels on there are literally direct from TikTok, which TikTok allows for. But, what I love about TikTok is that it helps find stuff that I like. Like you said, you like tea. I love tea. And TikTok is really good about figuring that out. They know I love regular tea, but I also love bubble tea. And TikTok found out that I liked it. Now, they know that if they put a bubble tea video in front of her, she's going to like it and she's going to love it. They know, they found. Oh, it's so interesting. They're so good at it. And as like a Middle Eastern Jew, there's not a lot of us in Chicago. They figured that out about me, and now I'm connecting with so many people who have lived in similar lives to me that live everywhere else in the world, and they found them and they put them in front of me. And I never would have been able to find them on Instagram unless you build up following on your own. It's very hard to find new people on there, and here this algorithm is pushing new people in front of me that I didn't know I wanted. And no TV channel has ever done that for me and has found people that look like me, who sound like me, who have interests like me. They haven't done that, and I so much appreciate the culture there that they really put a diverse amount of people in front of the people that need them, and that to me has been a life changer. So
okay, that's interesting. So when you have a good personal experience of that, and interesting that you shared that, because I had that discussion with Mastermind group that we have facilitated through Fizzle, and some people in Australia that I've been talking on a regular basis. And there it was, he talked about that, one of the guys there, about TikTok, and he gave a very good story and a case for it, and had tested it out himself. But what I said, it's not for me, but it's very interesting story. And also again, that if you have potential clients, are their customers there? Because it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon because it's only popular. Yeah. And then how long will it be interesting and trending, or will it be a fad that you never know? And I have a question about the music.
Yeah, I mean, the copyright
is it copyright?
For sure, and it hasn't been worked out yet.
So, but it's interesting what you see, that they are giving you suggestions and so on. And in a way, that's fascinating. So I'm
less pressure
glad
than
to hear
YouTube
that.
video. When you want to get someone to watch a YouTube video, it's very hard to know what's good that's inside. Here, I know that it's going to be less than 1 minute, so the amount of risk I have to take before watching a video is a lot lower. I think with YouTube, unless you have a teaser reel at the beginning to show you what's inside, which most YouTubers don't have that. Unless you're like the Try Guys, who have editors in house to do it, who give you the highlight reel so you know what's inside. Most people don't do that. Even with a podcast, it's they don't know that we talked about emails. They don't know we talked about tenure. They don't know we talked about bartering in this thing unless you tell them, which is what you're doing with the show notes, right? So I think that the amount of risk to figure out if content is good is a lot lower on TikTok than anywhere else. So I love that. And like you said, too, there are eyeballs on there to buy stuff, to sell stuff. I bought items because I saw them on TikTok. And there's, someone said that there's 88% of businesses are on Instagram. I think supposedly only 3% of businesses are on TikTok. And there's plenty of eyeballs. And you said, is it going to be a fad? I hope not. I've been on TikTok for 4 years. It was Musical.ly. For 4 years ago, I joined Musical.ly that ended up merging into TikTok. So I've been on there for a long time. It's been thriving. So we'll see where it goes. I think the world has just woken up to it now, and the possibilities, we'll see what happens. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I want more TikTok. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. And have you tested out Byte? That was not almost like a spin-off of Wine.
Yeah. I didn't try it,
owned by
but
Twitter.
maybe I'm gonna download and see. We'll see what we get. I should experiment.
So
that one I haven't done yet. So
yeah, do it. And yeah, so but it's great to hear that you have a good experience from and a fascinating story. So I will follow it along, but
okay.
I will not join,
It's
but I will
okay.
follow it along. And if I have somebody that's interested,
Sure.
I could
And you know what?
direct
That's
them
the
to
whole
you.
idea,
So
is that you
that's good.
experiment and beyond. And it's not about you having to be on TikTok. I think that's one of the beauties of TikTok, is that the content from TikTok can be shared on any other platform. So a lot of people will experience TikTok through a share on Facebook, a share on LinkedIn, a share on Twitter, because the videos can go anywhere on the web. So you might not have to find TikTok, but it'll find you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I saw on the Reels feature on Instagram. It was I saw this symbol TikTok.
Exactly.
Plenty of them. So
that's the crazy part of all this. So yeah.
So anything else before we wrap up?
If there are listeners out here who want to learn more about how to get more out of their marketing and their network, I'm a click away. I can be found on yoursocialmediasherpa.com at shai.ly. That's my personal website. So that was a fun domain I got. I'm happy to cheer people on. I want to see people play with the platforms. Even if they decide they hate TikTok, like you just said, it's okay. As long as you've seen a little bit of it, played with it, there's always so much more to learn. I didn't learn to be a marketer from I didn't go to school to be a marketer. Ironically, I'm teaching a social media class at the University of Chicago right now, but I never took a class on how to do this. I learned by experience. So I'm glad that, yeah, exactly. Both of us have done this thing, and I think that's wonderful. So I want to cheer people on to experiment with these things, even if they don't commit to Pinterest, even if they don't commit to Byte or whatever it is, to play with Medium, to play with Quora, whatever it is. I think there's so much to learn there. That's what I really want to shout out. If anybody wants to improve their LinkedIn profile, I give away my favorite LinkedIn profile examples on my website, yoursocialmediasherpa.com, to cheer them on. So that's a little bit about where I want to send folks. But I love what you're doing here, and I love that you also have a love of social media, but also have a critical eye on it too. And I think we could talk about the stuff for days, and I'm glad that you got to bring me on here to share that. So that's a big one. And
as an end of this podcast, you have to tell a little bit about your own podcast experiment and also your interest in bubble tea.
Bubble tea is delicious. Not everyone makes it perfect. I like when the bubbles are chewy and sweet, and I like when the milk tea is blended and sweet or not blended and sweet. I like it when there's that sugar water at the bottom with the brown sugar. It's all delicious. So I am always looking for stuff to do. One of my social media experiments was I made Bubble Tea Chicago on Instagram. If I cared and I had the capacity, I would go nuts with it, because there's no one doing it in Chicago. You go to California, there's a million bubble tea accounts, but no one's doing it in Chicago. I thought, wow, I have an opportunity here, but the amount of effort it takes, I just don't have the capacity for, but I love it so much. So that's something, an experiment I did on social media. And then I have my podcast, Do What I Love What I Do, is that the journey of getting to where I am today. I wanted to document that. I think maybe I got inspired by Gary Vee a little bit, wanting people to know what my day-to-day grind was. What are the emails I have to deal with? What are the meetings I have to deal with? What are the client headaches that I have to deal with? Also, what's life happening? So I put a ton of different topics on there, and lucky for you, you don't have to invest a lot of time to figure out if you want to listen to more. Every episode's only 2 minutes. So if you find an episode title that you're drawn to, listen to it. If I amuse you, listen to another one. It's very short and sweet, and it's a fun journey to take my audience on. And especially, I told it to only a handful of friends, and a lot of them listened to the whole thing, and I said, oh, that's great. So it was my experiment last year. I think I did it for 3 months, 4 months, and people loved it. So we'll see what happens next.
We have to talk about that, because I like the idea how to document it, because that's what often, but I talk about that, inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk, to potential solopreneurs, but also to big organization. But what could you document in a interesting, professional, fun way, and play around with it and do it. Just do it, as Nike say. So that's great. And I have to ask, when you talked about bubble tea and food, we talked about this food chef feed there. Where could I get pastrami bagel in Chicago? Do you like that?
I would say there's two different things about where you can go to both. I don't know. Actually, maybe not. Maybe you want to go to like one of the, what is it, Manny's Deli? I think that's a famous one. I don't know. I haven't been there. I haven't really ordered that very often, but I imagine they would have it. Manny's Deli, somewhere near here.
Great, because I like bagels and I like pastrami.
There's a place called The Bagel down the street from me. I actually have a gift card. I haven't used it yet. I got it for my birthday last year, so maybe I have to go there soon to get some food. But I should. I wish I knew more. I have a friend, my friend Sydney Shapiro. He loves pastrami and he will live for it. So I'm sure he's the guy that knows all that stuff. So
yeah, because I really want to know what is a real pastrami and the meat and how you prepare it, even if I wouldn't do it myself. But it's interesting because I had a great experience there in America when I tested that and had that on like a deli, simple deli in New York, and with history. And that's also like a Jewish tradition, because we could probably have another talk about that, the so-called cuisine by
well, see,
Jewish.
But this is also the funny thing too, is that a bagel is a very European Jewish thing, and like most Jews in Chicago. That's great. Well, wait till you have Middle Eastern, like Moroccan Jewish food or Persian Jewish food, because there's a lot more flavor. There's a lot of TikToks on how that's got more flavor, more fun. But that's like a European Jewish thing. And so growing up, a lot of my peers were from a European Jewish background. And so like, of course everybody like eats bagels, but that's something that's like, I grew up with, but it wasn't my heritage necessarily, but I kind of acquired it by like being in America and being in Chicago. So it is good.
Yeah. And now we have to talk with Jewish humor. What would you say about bacon?
I think there's a lot of Jews that love bacon, despite not necessarily being kosher. Look, I'm not a perfect Jew. I love me some shrimp. I love some lobster, crawfish, all that stuff. And I went to Jewish day school and everything. I love seafood, but I will not eat bacon. That is my foot goes down. My mom has like scared me enough to be like, no bacon, no bacon. So. But Jewish humor is everything. So many Jews connect to Judaism by humor rather than religion. I don't think most Jews in America are religious by any means, but I think they care about their heritage and their culture. I also make a joke all the time that like I feel like Jews invented atheism for all I know. Like you can be a Jewish atheist and still be Jewish because religion and God is not like, linked necessarily. It's not required to be Jewish. So there's a lot of humor there. A lot of good Jewish.
That's good to know. We will spread the good word about that because I'm an atheist, but I call myself that I believe in reason. And I recently started a podcast with a fellow blogger called Blair, and that is called The Secular Foxhole. And we will talk about these issues and topics. So,
that's
separation between church and state.
That's a whole topic we can go into too. But like, I'm hearing, how many podcasts do you have? I'm hearing at least 3 now. That's amazing. Too many.
So-called
so you really live too many. Podcast medium. I can see that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I do that. I do that. So I enjoy it very much, and I think everyone has a podcast inside themselves. Same as a book.
So you wrote that book because that is a book, right?
Yeah. No, I've written a book about tea. That's one. I have 2 podcasts.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So wait a second. I have my favorite teas. What are your favorite teas, or do you want to share mine? Because I love.
Yeah, that I told Raymond Ray. I think it's depending on the situation. So right now I'm drinking Lapsang Souchong from China.
Ooh.
It's a smoked black tea. It almost smells like tar, but it has like you could say like whiskey or cigar smoke or something like that. So it's leaves that you have on a car. Coal and fire, so it's very smoky.
Nice.
So that's one kind of tea. Yeah.
Every occasion.
So you have tea for every situation.
Bubble tea is my
including
treat for
bubble
myself,
tea.
especially on a Saturday, like during the day, or Sunday during the day. So this is the sad reality. I love my favorite tea of all time is Earl Grey. Like love Earl Grey. Like I've been an Earl Grey junkie since my cousin gave me this really cool tea bag of Earl Grey, and I was like, this is so good. But now I'm very caffeine sensitive, so I can't have it past like 10 or 11 in the morning. Same with bubble tea sometimes. So that's usually my go-to. I only started drinking it again lately in the mornings. But I drink that. I like some herbals and some sweet teas. And I love sweet tea. I can make a good sweet tea. But I have a good mix. Calf Earl Grey.
That's good. Then you have to share the recipe on that.
Just take your favorite black tea, pour a bag of sugar in the thing, and you're good to go. And put some ice in it. That's it. And then you hopefully you got to watch your blood sugar, and then you'll be in good shape. That's my. But yeah, I'll make some tea, and I put. You know what I do now? I'll take tea and I'll put oat milk in it. And oat milk is like really delicious, and it's like a good alternative to like coffee creamer. So it gives it a nice like nutty like very like thick delicious texture. So that's something I love to do. So I love that you also love tea. So. Yep. My actually, this is something cool to look up on the internet potentially. There's Try Guys. I love the Try Guys. Great YouTube account. Zach, one of the 4 guys, made his own tea company, and he just like Gary Vee said, he documented the process of him starting the company. And it was a really cool journey. And he made this tea to help solve a problem, which was he has like a medical condition that like causes him like chronic pain, and he made a tea that helps with inflammation. And he crafted it himself, and he shows the entire process of him building the tea, the branding, the marketing, the website, and everything. And it was one of the most wonderful YouTube series I've ever seen. So that's a fun one. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's interesting. And that you have to tell me more about, and cool. We will look into that. So it's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's been great to talk to you. And you have to then sign off here to say whatever you want.
You ready for this? This is my favorite social media quote, but it can apply to anybody in business or in life or beyond. I wish I had written it, but I didn't. It's social media related. Social media is about the people, not about your business. Provide for the people, and the people will provide for you. That's my favorite social media quote. So that is the epicenter of everything. So you give for people, and the people will come back. You treat your people well. You reply to every email. You build those relationships, and they will come back for you. They'll come back and do nice things for you. So that's my hope.
Yeah. So thank you very much,
yes, I'll see you online.
And talk to you soon again.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.